IF.
Our criminal lawyer, as well as Oscar Chavez.
Hi, how are you?
Our immigration paralegal of the day. And of course, our beautiful partner, Jennifer Pratt.
Well, thank you, and hello to everyone.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, so go ahead and call the number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. We're ready to take your questions.
That's right. Call us now. The first consultation is free, 888-88-LEGAL. And today we have a very special show for you. It's Friday, and we have in store for you an amazing attorney who is here to talk to you with over 30 years of experience about everything and anything criminal. Call now. Any question you may have about a DUI, about a probation violation, or maybe you've been a person that's been arrested for not wearing a mask in Dade County. Whatever your criminal legal issue is at this moment, whether it's for you, a friend, a relative, someone who's currently incarcerated, this is your opportunity to talk to someone that has over 30 years of criminal experience. You're not going to find someone who can say they've done more than 1,000 DUI trials. I am honored to have attorney Michael Haber here with us today. Please, attorney Haber, tell us a little bit about your experience and some of the cases that you've been handling over the years and what's popular right now in criminal law.
Well, thank you for that intro. I don't want to contest anything that you said, although I haven't had over 1,000 trials. I have represented over 1,000 people in DUI cases. That'd be an awful lot of trials for anybody to have under their belt. I handle everything criminal. I do things from, as you said, DUIs to BUIs. We have an awful lot of those, boating under the influence here in South Florida. I handle cases from murders to misdemeanors, and as I've said over the years, from traffic to trafficking. So here in Miami, we have no lack of criminal cases. At least we didn't pre-COVID. Things have gotten a little bit slow during this time. Law enforcement isn't exactly aggressive in terms of arresting people, and jails aren't exactly aggressive in terms of keeping people in custody these days. But we've had plenty to keep us busy over the last 30 years that I've been practicing, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to tackle over the years to come.
Thank you so much, Attorney Haber, and thank you for clarifying that. We also have today on our panel our wonderful paralegal, Oscar Chavez. Oscar Chavez is actually a law graduate, and he's just pending to take the bar. Oscar Chavez helps us at our office with any and all immigration matters, and today he's here to also answer any questions you may have regarding immigration. Mr. Chavez, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with immigration and some of the things, without getting into any details or names, of some of the cases that you've seen thus far here at our office regarding immigration and any other popular topics, such as I know we've been talking a lot in the office about asylum cases and some of the different deadlines that are coming up. Talk to the people, let them know, they want to hear from you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, well, once I graduated from law school, I got a job at a firm where it was immigration mainly, so I started doing that. And it was like 1.5 years there. Then I started working at PraDa for the past 3 months almost, coming up. And yeah, asylum right now, it's very tumultuous with COVID-19 and everything. Dates are changing, things like the immigration permits and work permits it's an issue right now that now, for instance, in asylum cases, now you're gonna have to wait a whole year before you apply for your work permit, as before you only have to wait 180 days. As for cases that we've done at the firm, a lot of them have been, most clients are worried about such things. They know the tumultuous times we live with the COVID-19, with dates changing, the government, DHS and everything is changing things left and right any single minute and any single given day. So many cases, most clients are worried about the dates, when they need to file, about their work permit, what's going to affect them. So all I can say is the most important date right now for you to understand is August 25th. That's when all these changes are coming forward, and keep that in mind. August 25th is the important date for now. After that, we will see what the government says and what diamond dates are worried about after that.
And I definitely want to talk about August 25th and what exactly that deadline means for anybody who's looking to seek asylum. We want to explain what a work authorization is. We want to let the people know that at our office we handle these matters, and every day we're on the front lines, whether it's at Chrome or any other of the detention centers. You know, I think a lot of the misunderstanding, Oscar, is that they think that immigration court is closed, but in fact, if you are detained right now, the courts are actually not closed, correct?
Correct. That's an important topic. The courts in Chrome, they are typically working. The detention centers are open. The courts are open. Even in the Brickell Center, even downtown, they're open. But they're more likely to close because of COVID-19. They've been randomly and continuously changing master hearings, individual hearings to move forward. Typically, it was supposed to open up in June. Then they opened up in June for a few weeks. Then they closed until July. Now, I believe September hearings have been postponed. So your dates and your times are changing continuously, like I said. Because of the government and because of COVID-19, they're continuously changing when master hearings, individual hearings, when work permits, when anything is supposed to now take place. They're extending them.
Thank you, Oscar. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't wait. Call now, 888-88-LEGAL for your free consultation. We'll be right back.
You're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera de 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez. Call the number 888-88-LEGAL for any questions you may have. Jennifer?
That's right. And it's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to talk DUIs and something I had never thought about, BUIs. You bring up a very good point, Attorney Haber. I had never thought about it. We do live in Miami, and there are a lot of coastal cities. I'd love to hear a little bit more about if someone this weekend is pulled over for a DUI. Let's start with DUIs. What do you recommend is something they do step by step? Do they blow? Do they do the field test? Do they run away? What do they do, Attorney Haber? Talk to us. Give us the truth here. We want to know what is it that folks can do this weekend if, God forbid, they find themselves behind the wheel, having had a little too many drinks because we're all a little down about this COVID thing, and you get pulled over. What happens then, Attorney Haber?
Well, every case is unique. Each situation is unique. Each client is unique. Each stop is unique. So it's very difficult to give across-the-board advice. I will say this. What we call a double refusal, that means that you refuse to take field sobriety examinations or roadside sobriety examinations, and you subsequently refuse to take a breath test, are generally the best case scenario for a defense lawyer. Not always, because again, there are no absolutes, but you are depriving the government of critical evidence that they would use against you in a prosecution for DUI if you just say no. Nancy Reagan coined that phrase decades ago. She had no idea I'd be using it today. But that's the reality. If you don't take roadside sobriety examinations, then the officer can't walk into a courtroom and tell a jury how pathetically you performed on the tests. And then you won't have to rely upon a lawyer like me to try and educate the jury as to why those tests are meaningless. It's a difficult catch-22. But one interesting thing I will tell you about those field sobriety examinations is, unlike breath, where we have a law called implied consent, which means that an officer has to tell you that you have an absolute and unequivocal right to refuse to blow into a breathalyzer before they can compel you to take it. They don't have to do that with FSTs. So in other words, on the roadside, when you're really under the heat of the moment, you've just been pulled over, traffic is passing by you, things are buzzing through your brain at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The odds are you've never been in this situation before. You're feeling the heat. 2, 3, 4 police cars show up. Cops have shiny flashlights and badges and guns and tasers. Who knows what's going through your mind in terms of riots and protests and all sorts of other things that you may be thinking about. The possibility that you know that there's a potential problem here because you're not just getting a ticket. You've been ordered out of your car. Now you have an officer asking you to stand on one leg and cluck like a chicken or recite the alphabet backwards. They don't really do those things. I'm exaggerating. But they are asking you...
They don't?
No, they don't.
Darn it.
But they are asking you to perform what are otherwise unnatural acts. In other words, things that you and I would not do in our normal daily experience. And these are very critical, important things to think about. These are things that I would try and impress upon a jury to go back in the jury room and try it themselves. But again, this is a case-specific scenario. You could be a world-class athlete that's perfectly capable of doing these types of physical sobriety exercises even if you were smashed. And then on the other hand, you could be a perfectly sober person, like myself, who's completely unable to do them in the best-case scenario, much less on the roadside. So again, I think it's important takeaway for everybody to know, you don't have to take those tests, but the cops aren't going to tell you that. So you heard it from me here. Mark it, know it, remember it, and whether or not you choose to take them is up to you. I'm here to help you clean up the mess either way.
Thank you, Mike. Good points. Good to know. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get stuck in a bind. Call 888-88-LEGAL.
That's right. Such important information, and just in time for the weekend. Attorney Haber, I'd like to know a little bit now about BUIs. How are they different for any of the listeners or watchers that are going to be out on a boat this weekend, which is one of the few left things that people can do these days, socially at least. What about that? How are those stops made, and how do you determine, who was even riding the boat, who was driving the boat, and how does that work?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I wish that we had 2 hours for me to give you chapter and verse about it. So I'm going to have to give you the 101 BUI course. Please. Yeah, the Cliff Notes. So BUI is the same thing as DUI. It's operating a vessel while under the influence. And there's 2 ways that that can be proven. Just like in a DUI, 2 ways that you can prove it. Either A, your breath or blood alcohol level is above the legal limit, which is 0.08, or B, the officers are able to prove or elicit evidence that the prosecutor can then use in court to prove that your normal faculties were impaired as a result of either alcohol or controlled substances. Here's the big difference between DUIs and BUIs. On land, a police officer needs to have a reason to come into contact with you. In other words, they can't just stop you because they feel like it, or because they don't like the way you look, or because they don't like the color of your car, or because of any variable that happens to come into their mind. They need to observe some violation of law or be following some scripted protocol that justifies the stop. That does not exist on the water. Your Fourth Amendment privilege on the water to be free from unlawful searches and seizures is virtually non-existent. So in order for an officer to stop you on the water, they can use the guise of what's called a safety check. In other words,
no.
they just want to make sure that you have the right amount of life preservers, or that you have flares that haven't been expired, or that you have a valid fire extinguisher or a throw cushion on board. They don't need a reason. Now that said, they may have one. For instance, you might be planing in a no-wake zone, or you might be speeding through a manatee zone, or you might be recklessly operating your vessel in a manner that endangers other people, or there may be somebody bow riding on the front of your boat. But again, none of those things are necessary. So here's the kicker with BUIs. Why does a boating stop, an encounter between law enforcement and a civilian, turn into a criminal investigation? Again, you can draw the parallel to the car situation. Why would a normal traffic stop for speeding, or for an accident, or for somebody unlawfully parked on the roadside turn into a DUI investigation? It's usually because the officer has some objective clue that you're under the influence. The number one telltale sign is an odor of alcoholic beverage. If they smell booze, they are trained and attuned to seeking booze and to seeking influence. And so that's what they look for. They are literally, we use the fishing term running and gunning, that's what they do. They're running and gunning for those telltale signs. So in a BUI situation, let's say you're out on the boat, you're hanging with your friends, you're at the sandbar, you're having a good time, or you're out fishing, or whatever you're doing. Well, you have too many empties on board, and they're visible. What do you think that officer is going to think the moment that he sees empty beer bottles or empty wine bottles or open bottles of vodka or tequila or rum or whatever it is that spirit that you enjoy? It's going to automatically trigger that run and gun instinct for the officer to then conduct a criminal investigation into BUI.
Wow, thank you so much, Mike. Such incredible information. Ladies and gentlemen, don't hesitate. Call now, 888-88-LEGAL. Let us help you. Thank you.
You know, Attorney Haber, it sounds like you really know what you're talking about. This is exactly why we brought you on the show. And these is exactly the type of quality guests that we intend to have on our show every single day, every single week, to inform you of the most up-to-date, latest information on any and all legal current events, including something that may affect you or someone you know this weekend. Now, I hope not. With Uber and so many ways to get around town these days, I would hope that nobody has to encounter this. But as Attorney Haber said, it could be that you're just getting pulled over for something else, not necessarily a DUI, and you can find yourself still in front of a police officer. And I know, Attorney Haber, that especially in these times, there's been a lot on the news about police, and especially about what happens when an individual runs into a police officer and vice versa. One of the things I'd like, and production is telling me we're close to a commercial break, but what about a regular stop, Attorney Haber? Nothing to do with a DUI. In these times right now, do I have to give my ID to the police officer? Do I have to identify myself? What are you seeing in terms of situations that I think we've all seen, whether it's social media, on the news, where it was just some sort of not confrontation, but some sort of meeting where they met, right? And then all of a sudden it turns into, and it escalates into something much, much bigger quickly before the break. Do I have to give the officer my ID?
If you're driving a vehicle, yes, you absolutely, let me rephrase that. Yes, that's the answer. If you're driving a vehicle or if you're operating a vessel and you are stopped, you are obligated to identify yourself and produce a valid driver's license, or there's no licenses for boats, unfortunately. For the life of me, cannot understand the why of that. That's what we call a Florida legislator fail. But yes, you do need to identify yourself if you're operating a vessel or a motor vehicle.
What if I'm just walking down the street?
Well, that presents a whole variety of other questions that we're probably not going to be able to answer before your commercial break.
Absolutely, but now is the time to call. Ladies and gentlemen, the first consultation is free, 888-88-LEGAL. The number is red on the screen. We have offices in Miami, in Doral. Call us now. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Our law firm handles all sorts of areas of law, and today you're in luck. We're going to be coming up with some very important deadlines about immigration. You're going to want to stay tuned, and we're also going to talk about the intersection between immigration and criminal law. A lot of times people are facing deportations due to alleged crimes or convictions that they may have from before. Give us a call, 888-88-LEGAL. We'll be right back.
You know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
Welcome back to PraDa Law Live. I'm Jackie Mendez, your host, and today we do have Mike Haber, attorney, criminal, our partner Jennifer Pratt, one of our partners here at the firm, and of course, paralegal, immigration.
Oscar Chavez.
Oscar Chavez, yes.
That's right. And we invite you from right now to call. The number is on the screen. The consultation is free. 888-88-LEGAL. 888-88-LEGAL. Jackie, tell the people they should call.
They definitely need to call in now. Let us help you. You don't want to get in trouble this weekend. You know, if anything does happen, please call the number on your screen. Free consultation, 888-88-LEGAL.
That's right. And in these times right now during COVID-19, there's been a lot of misconceptions that I want to clear up today on today's show regarding immigration. It is true that some portions of immigration were closed and continue to be closed. And I think educating the public is the first thing that we should do. I want people to understand that when it comes to immigration, there are basically two different entities that you have. You've got the cases that are in court. These are the removal proceedings. These are the folks that are being actively the government is actively trying to deport them physically out of the country. And even within that sphere, within that entity of people, you have two different areas of folks, two different folks. And this is the people who are detained. That means they are actually detained at one of the immigration detention centers, whether it's on the local level, Chrome, BTC in Broward, or Glades, more in the middle central Florida, or any of the detention centers around the country. And then you have the non-detained docket. On the non-detained docket, these are the folks that are out, whether it's because they've been able to get bail, bond from an immigration court, or because they've never been detained and their case was just referred to court for removal proceedings while they were not detained. Those are two different categories of people that are in court. Then you have the USCIS. Those are the cases that are going to immigration, and those are more similarly known as the family petitions, perhaps a U visa, a VAWA, a labor visa, things of that nature, investment visas. These are not folks that are being actively deported, generally speaking, although sometimes they do intersect. And these are folks that are trying to usually adjust status in this country by way of some sort of application or petition. So right now, if you have a relative that is detained in immigration, those cases are moving forward. People are being deported. And while they may not be physically deported, they will have an order of deportation. And believe me, as soon as COVID is over or it's safe to fly, ICE will be right there, whether at detention center or at that person's home, to physically deport them. And then you have the non-detained docket. These are the cases that are currently not happening for the most part, although we've had some back and forth. And the latest announcement is that now the courts here in Miami, for non-detained people, in other words, people who are free on the streets, will be opening sometime around August 14th. I want you to know that this deadline has been changed now probably between 3 to 4 different times in the last 6-7 months. So keep in mind, things are changing. Now, that doesn't mean that you should ignore your immigration case. In fact, what I would recommend to you is that this is the perfect time. This couldn't be the more perfect gift, that because some of the courts are closed, for you to come meet with us, discuss your case, see what relief you may or may not have, and sit with us. A consultation is free so that we can discuss what the best plan of action is. Take advantage of this downtime. And for those of you that have a USCIS case, those cases are moving along as well, slow, but that's nothing new with immigration. And if you have a case that's active with them, you're going to want to also come to our office, free consultation, so that we may assist you in deciding whether or not the application or the relief that you're seeking is in fact viable.
Yes, Jennifer, call your number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. We have a whole bunch of information for you guys today on immigration, and it's a huge issue. A lot of people are suffering. So please call 888-88-LEGAL and let us help you. Let us help you with your family.
That's right. And today on the show, we also have our paralegal, Oscar Chavez. And what he is going to be here talking to us about is about immigration. At the beginning of the show, Oscar, you mentioned some deadlines. I want to flush this out. I want to talk a little bit about what these deadlines means. What does an employment authorization document mean? So let's start from the top. You mentioned August, what? What day was it? 25th. Why is August 25th an important date for somebody that may be listening to us right now or their relative?
Well, before, when you're coming in and you apply for asylum, you would have 180 days, and they would give you a work authorization. A work authorization is basically a permission from the U.S. government to work in the United States while waiting and pending your asylum case or your status change, whatever it is you're asking for from the government. But now, the new law is going to be that on August 25th, starting August 25th, that employment authorizations are going to be given in a year. You have to wait a whole year before you're allowed to work in the United States freely and make your money while you're waiting the process. So now not only do you have to wait a year before you work, but you have to wait for the process to end in that year in order for you to start working. Now, what's important about August 25th now is basically that you need to get in your application, whether it be the court, whether it be the asylum office, before August 25th. So you have until August 24th to start your process if you want to be able to apply for the authorization within the 180 days. And now you're going to have to wait a whole year.
That's right, Oscar. And the reason this is so important is because what a lot of folks don't know is that if you work without this authorization, later on down the road, right, Oscar, this could impede you from possibly adjusting if they are to find that you were working without authorization, correct?
Correct. That's a bar for them. If they find out you're working, you're gaining government support is basically how they're going to see it. You're getting money from the government illegally because they haven't given the permission to work. So, and then once you try to adjust status, even if you get married with a U.S. citizen, even if you have a U.S. citizen mother or sibling, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to have an issue with an officer. An officer is going to say, well, you were working without permission here, so we're not going to let you adjust status, and you're never going to be able to adjust or become a citizen. Even worse, you might be able to get deported right on the spot.
Now, production is telling me that we have less than a minute left, and I can't believe it. The time flew this Friday, and I want to thank all our guests for being here today. I know we promised that we were going to talk about the intersection between criminal and immigration. We'll have to bring that to you on our next show, but have no fear. We're here. We're here to help. The number on the screen is where you should call right now. Any questions, 888-88-LEGAL. The consultation is free. You have absolutely nothing to lose. I want to thank attorney Mike Haber. I want to thank our paralegal, Oscar Chavez, and of course, our wonderful and beautiful host, Jackie Mendez. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining PraDa Law Live. And don't forget to call for your free consultation, 888-88-LEGAL. We'll be waiting for your calls. Thank you.